Okay, there's a couple of things that I want to go over before I begin to show you what it is that we're going to do here. Probably all of you have made one of those knots where you make that loop and you reach through and hook like that and then turn them together, and now it's called a lark's head knot, and it looks, well, just like that. And sometimes you have it on a rope or another piece of string and it goes through like this, and in this case I'm using the red and the black so you can see it pretty clearly, and you tighten it down and then it'll slide back and forth. Now when you do that, this is called your core thread and this is your knot. I'll scooch it in a little closer so you can see that knot, and it's hard to see in the black. I'll reverse this in a minute. If we turn it around like this, it's not called a lark's head knot anymore. Once it's turned up like this, with the threads coming out of the top of it, this is the double knot that is used in tatting. And let me show you something neat about it. If you loosen it up a little bit, and grab that cross bit, and pull it down that way, you've seen this knot before too. Now, what if you pull this and straighten it out and put the tension on this side? Now, that knot has transferred the other way. And now your black thread is the core, and the red is the knotting thread that will slide. You see what happened there? The way that the knot will transfer from core to core, is an important part of tatting. And so seeing that and understanding that it happens, I think will help you in the next steps here. Okay? So now, let's put this aside and move forward with actually showing you how to do it in a tatting format. Now, these days, mostly when I tat, it's because I need to do a circular start for a shawl. And I want something small and tiny and petite, and also I want something really strong because I don't want to go to all that trouble to knit some huge lace shawl and it begin to unravel because my start was not solid. So I will tat a ring with as many picots as the shawl pattern tells me to cast on to start, and that ring will be my base. Usually when I do that, I don't want to go to the trouble of going and finding my tatting shuttle, and so I just, you know how to make one of these little bundles of yarn. I just make this little bundle of yarn and I use it as my tatting shuttle. Now when you're learning to do this kind of fiddly. So may as well show you the easier way. So in this case, I showed you this little bundle because it's what you'll probably want to do later, so you don't have to go find yet another piece of equipment. But for now, let's show you the easier way that actually uses the equipment. This is such a cheap shuttle. Seriously, scary cheap shuttle. But it has a good little hook on it, which helps a lot, and it's just a teeny tiny crochet hook right in there. And it has this little bobbin that pops out. You run your thread out through the hole in the bobbin, and then you load up the bobbin and pop it in there. And it has little teeth in it, so it grabs, listen, so it grabs so that it holds. And I'm sorry, my husband's putting the dogs to bed right now, so you probably hear a lot of go night night because they're going to crate. Sorry. So it holds the thread without it unraveling too much. Now when you hold your bobbin, you're going to want to, you don't have to hold it very tight, but you hold it in the center here. Not back here, but in the center. Okay? Now, to get started making a ring, what you do is, here is my ball. we're pretending this is yarn because I don't want to go and skein up I don't want to go and ball up a hank so that I can do this. So we're pretending that this old tin Baroque cotton is yarn. And this is really good to practice with. Something really smooth to practice with while you're learning how to do this will help you tremendously, really. You want to save the sticky wool until you know what you're doing. And you don't have to be an expert, but having at least a good idea of what you're doing will help you tremendously. Because again, polished crochet cotton, it's going to just slide, which is good. That's going to help you a lot. So to set up, I have my ball to my left and come up under my hand with the thread and pinch here. Now I'm going to slide that through and cup my fingers like this, okay? And as I slide it through, I'm going to wrap it around my hand. And you are always going to use this ring. And if you see there, it is on each finger, it is like at the base of my nail, okay? And you've got a bigger gap between your index and your middle than between any of your other fingers, because this is where all the stitching is going to happen, in that gap there, okay? So you bring it all the way around and come back up, back into that same pinch. So now you have the same piece of thread going around in a circle and coming back into this pinch here. This loose piece here is going back under your hand out to the ball of yarn, which is there, okay? This tight piece here coming off the top is coming to the shuttle out to your right hand. Now, I'm going to loosen up this grip between my index and my thumb enough to feed this yarn through here, because I want about maybe 10 inches of yarn between the pinch here and the shuttle, okay, so that I can make my next steps. Now to do what the right hand does now, this holds the pinch. You're holding the pinch, holding the circle. See the circle that goes around this way, ball here, circle starts here, comes around, comes back to here, feeds off from here to your shuttle. With me so far? If you need to pause and get that right, now's a good time, because I'm fixing to show you what to do with your right hand. Giving you time to pause. Okay, if you're still with me, then you were ready to move on to what goes on the right hand. In the right hand, what we did was we fed some of this out here, so we've got enough here, and this comes off of the shuttle, across the underside of my hand, over the overside of my hand, and all the way around the shuttle, okay? So now, you see how this is? The shuttle is underneath that string, okay? And I still have this extra long gap between my index and my middle finger on the left. Now, the first stitch of the double stitch, the first half of the double stitch, is you go in through the middle. Actually, I'm going to ask my husband, Paul, would you grab that green book there and sit it right, no, the book, and sit it right here. So I've got a better, okay, now we've got a better background. Thank you, baby. Better background here, so you'll be better able to see the yarn, I think. Okay, so we're going to go in through the circle underneath, and when I do that, you see right here, I'm going to catch the yarn between my index finger and the shuttle, and I just slip it through. I relax my grip on the shuttle enough to slip the yarn between my index finger and the shuttle, and I go all the way until the back end of the shuttle clears the circle, and then I'm going to bring the shuttle back so that now my circle goes under the shuttle, and it's going to slip now between my thumb and the shuttle. Okay, now let me show you. Pay no attention to this. I'm undoing what I just did, and I'm going to do it again to show you. Okay, I'm going in this gap between my index and my middle. I have the yarn wrapped all the way around in a full circle around this hand. I go in through the circle on my left hand. slip the top of the ring on my left hand between the shuttle and my index finger, slip it through, take the ring all the way back past the shuttle, move the shuttle upwards so it passes back over that string, and the ring thread that is around my left hand passes between the shuttle and my thumb. And when you do that, you're going to have, see how right here, see how that caught right there? You're going to have that there, and pull this the rest of the way out. Now this is where you begin to pull the shuttle hand. You begin to pull it out straight. And as you do that, see how the thread, how the yarn passes up? And you loosen up a little bit on the left hand and pull the right hand tight. And the knot transfers from one core strand to the other core strand. And now if you look right here, this is the core. You made the knot with this string, but remember how earlier I showed you that you can transfer, and I'm sorry my hands are so shaky, I have new medicine. You can transfer the knot from one core to the other once you make the full knot. Well, now we just transferred half the knot from one core to the other. Okay? By pulling this string, which goes to the shuttle, tight, and loosening this one, we transferred it over. So now, to do the second half of the knot, now we're going to do a loopy. We don't have to do the wrap this time. We don't have to wrap it over our hand this time. Well, over our hand this way this time. We don't have to do that this time. Now we leave it hanging and do a loopy. And when it's looping, you go over. Always, you'll notice that it's always complementary. If the yarn goes around your hand and goes over your hand, then you put the shuttle underneath the string on the ring. If the yarn goes under your hand, like this, you put the shuttle over the top. So now what we're going to do is the shuttle will go over the ring, and the string again on the ring is going between the shuttle and our thumb. Pop through all the way past the back end of the shuttle and bring the string back between the shuttle and the index finger. Pop out. Now, watch this very carefully. I'm keeping my left hand tight, the string on my left hand tight, and you see I'm holding right here, that's the first half of the knot that we made, and I'm holding it between my index and my first finger. Between my thumb and my first finger. This knot is happening with my shuttle hand. See? It's coming, the shuttle string has the knot. But what happens now is I'm going to loosen this, bring my middle finger in and loosen this ring a little bit, and I'm going to tighten down the shuttle, and it just popped over. And see, now the string is on the other. Now when I tighten up, push out my middle finger, it draws that knot up, and now I have a completed, it's a lark's head, but it's upside down, so it is a tatting double knot. Okay? So now, that is the full stitch. That's it. It's all there is to it. I'm going to do it for you fast so that you see how fast it can work. Okay? You do just the swoop, in, out, and this is not fast, this is medium. And it's a seesaw thing. You loosen this as you tighten this. You loosen the left as you tighten the right. And then you tighten the left again and let it ride up the right. And then you do that. Now that was another double knot. Swoop in, out. No swoop, out, in. Okay, so that's two more, okay? So, you probably can't see them because the white does not have a lot of contrast for you, but that's it. Okay, so now let's go over it one more time. But I'm going to show you how to make a picot at the same time. After I've finished each of these, I have changed my grip here to where, oh, and how you double check. Let me show you how you double check that you did the knot right. If you don't know what you're doing yet, you want to make sure you did the knot yet. If you pull this, if you pinch onto those knots and pull the string on your shuttle hand, that core string will just pass through the knots pretty as you please. Which is why I'm saying sticky wool doesn't do it so well. You really don't want to try to do this with mohair. Polished cotton will do great. And sticky wool, once you know what you're doing and don't have to test these by sliding them back all the time, will be fine. You can tighten it up once with sticky wool. I do it with Jaeger spun all the time, and it's not a problem. But you don't want to do it a bunch of times back and forth. Okay? So now, to make a picot, and a picot is just a loop. Okay? It's just a little loop. So to make the picot, you just don't bring the next knot all the way up. I've done 3 double knots here, so I'm going to make a picot. And I'm going to leave a gap about like yay to make my picot. So I'm just going to plant my thumbnail there. Just for now. Okay? So now, do my swoop. Go in through the circle. Pop it over. Pass the back end. And back underneath it. And come back out. Now, tighten up the right to transfer the circle. And then begin to tighten my left hand again. And what I want to do is draw it up and decide how big I want my picot to be. Okay, so we're going to say that big. Just because I'm fixing to put it on size 0 needles so that you see what I'm talking about. And that'll be plenty of room. Okay, so that was the first half of my knot. Now I'm going to do the loopy. Go over the top, sliding the thread between my thumb and the shuttle. Back this way, pull it out, transfer the knot, pop, and I'm holding down that first one so it doesn't slide up. You can't see it from my thumbnail, but I tightened up the second one. Now see that right there, how you've got that gap between there? Now if you slide this out, it makes the loop. Now, if we are using this for our base ring for a circular shawl, then that loop is going to count as one of our cast-on stitches. So now, when it gets too little, because when you're doing this, if you pay attention and notice how your string is running, as you do this, you are eating up the string in this circle. Okay? So you're going to have to slide it along some. And when you do, it takes some of the thread from here. So then if you need more thread, you have to pull it off of here. Okay, you're not actually using any more thread from your ball at this point. You're working out from a point towards your end. And then when you cast on, you will work from that point towards your ball. So it works out very well. So now let me show you again. Swoop. Bring this back into the picture. Go inside, underneath, pull it back, pop that knot over. Did you see it pop that time? And slide it all the way back this time because we're not making another picot yet. And then do the second half of the knot. So droopy loopy, over the top of the ring, back in through the ring, and watch it pop, pop, and slide it back up. And to slide it back up, it's just a matter of taking this ring and tightening it back up. Okay? You loosened it and tightened this to make it pop over on and make this be the core. Then you do this to slide it back up to where it needs to be. And that was number 2 for this one. So again, I'm going to swoop in through the ring, over the top of the ring. It popped over easily that time because I didn't have much tension on the left hand thread. And tighten that down. Loopy, over, in. Tighten that down. So that's 3. We did 3 here. We did 3 there. Now I'm going to do 4 this time because I did 3 there and I want another one to come up to this when I finish up. Typically I would do If I was going to do 4 in between, I would do 2 double knots and then my first picot, and then do 4 between each of the other picots, and after my last picot I would do 2 more, so that when I closed it I would have 4 together and I could knot it together. Okay, so now another picot, 3, oops, no, 4. I decided I was going to do 4. Okay, sorry, losing track of what I'm doing because I'm talking too much. So swoopy wrap, in, out, slide it up, over, under again, pop, slide it up. So now we've got 4 there, so let's do a picot, and I just slip out a little bit and grab it a little bit further away from that knot and do my swoopy, inside of the ring, outside of the ring, reverse the core, slide it back, look and see that I did. And sometimes I have been known to okay, laugh at me, I'm going to. I have been known to take a fine point Sharpie marker and make 2 little dots on the side of my finger to show myself how far apart, how wide I was going to make each picot, so I made them all the same. Because sometimes I'm anal like that. Alrighty? And the loopy, droopy loopy, and pull it through, and that time I lost my ring, but you see how easy it is to just catch back up again. And slide it up, so there's my double knot, there's my gap right there. I'm going to push this out to it, and see, there's my second picot. Okay, now again, I've used up some of this thread in here, so I'm going to open out my hand, holding onto those knots, and slide some more through there, so I've got some more room to work with here, because it'll get too tight, and then you can't get through there, and you can't loosen and tighten like you need to, okay? But now at this point, because it's pulled so much through here, that I need to pull some out of my shuttle, like that. So now, swoop over, go through from the inside to the outside, and tighten, outside to the inside, and tighten, do the loop, inside to the outside, and tighten, outside to the inside, and tighten. That was 3 knots, 1 more. Do the swoopy catch, inside of the circle to the outside of the circle, and tighten, droopy loopy, outside of the circle to the inside of the circle, and tighten. And now another picot, so I'm going to leave a gap. Here's my swoopy, outside, I'm sorry, inside, outside. Again, it reverses to change the core. Slide it up, but you really want to do a controlled slide there when you do it, okay? So there's my gap, and if you make it too tight, just put your little hook in there and open it back out some. And now pin that down while you do the droopy, and go outside to inside, and then we're just going to do 1 more, because it's getting kind of long, and the video is, and I need to stop it. And like so. Okay, so now I've got actually 2 on this end and 3 on that end, and we'll pretend that this is 4 and that it looks right. Okay, I got carried away. So now I squished it up, so we have 3 picots here. So now what we do is take our hand out of there and look, and we have this circle underneath all these knots, and this circle right here will tighten up. So from this side, from the shuttle side, okay, take this, hold on to your knots, and take the string that goes to the shuttle and start pulling. And see how it passes through there? It's passing right through there because it was a core and because you kept checking to make sure that your core string had not gotten tangled up and become a knot string. Okay? And it starts getting tight, and you just pull it down and see it cinches into a circle. Okay, now if we had, this is a ring, this is a tatted ring, it's a tatted ring. If we had, we're doing the foiling, and the foiling actually calls for casting on 8. And this is really big yarn, I mean really big thread as opposed to what I'm actually using. So there should not be, you would not need this many double knots in between it for it to lay flat as you begin to knit it. You would probably need, I think we did 3 is what we did. I'm pretty sure 3, not 4. So then you seat these just like they are stitches seated on a knitting needle. So your right leg goes behind and your left leg goes to the front. And your right leg goes behind and your left leg goes to the front. Just like that. Okay? And, you know, if you had 8, then you would continue and pick up the next one with your right leg behind the needle and your left leg to the front of the needle. And you would continue going around and pick up your 8 stitches, your 8 picots as stitches, and you would be ready to then knit your first round. And that's how easy it is to tat a circle. I want to tell you quickly that even though there's no knots in knitting, and I'm a firm believer of there's no knots in knitting, tatting is pretty solid, but I do knot here. And so I take this one, and you know how to tie a square knot. I just tie a square knot between them on the back side. Just tie a square knot. And you know how to do that. And I nip the shuttle string, leave about 3 inches so you can weave it in and nip it off. And then when you begin knitting, of course, you begin knitting with the ball side. Okay? And you're set. That's it. Please let me know if you need anything else on here. I think YouTube will let me know if you have any questions. And most of you who find this will be here because I told you about it on G+ anyway. So, love my horse. You know I do. And happy knitting. Talk to you soon.